plans here.
I'm not a maximalist of anything. We could talk for 20 hours about this. I'm not dogmatic in any way, shape, or form. This is just it's a view that I have right now. But yeah, we could.
Uh,
Yeah,
so I mean, if we're going to talk about it, then I would say that like maybe the technology of Bitcoin is as you say a step in the right direction. I mean, maybe the technology of Bitcoin is a step in that evolution. I'm not convinced that like in terms of Bitcoin maximalism, I don't think Bitcoin maximalism is going to free everyone on Earth. Most people have no Bitcoin at all. How's being flat broke freedom? Like was it Mike Saylor has? Doesn't he have like 2% of the world's Bitcoin supply? Donald Trump's going to buy God knows how much Bitcoin. There's a handful of Bitcoin whales who have overwhelming amount of it, and I think there's only 33 million wallets, and there's 8 billion people on planet Earth, so most people are flat broke. But yeah, I can see that the technology, the basic blockchain technology, might be a step towards that. That's my input.
yeah. And
My,
this is
my
not.
point is my point is, I mean, I'm reading here long-term capital accumulation and true freedom. That for me is oxymoron. Is I mean, long-term capital accumulation goes directly against true freedom. This is the point that I would like to discuss.
But at the same time, having people having people getting the benefit of their work is related to freedom. But of course, the problem with Bitcoin is you got a load of rent seekers who just bought Bitcoin earlier and are now massively rich, and they just want to get everyone else's labor by virtue of the fact they happen to buy a load of Bitcoin in the early stages. But I think in some ways, like getting compensated for your work and getting the value of your work to be exchanged for other people's labor is compatible with freedom.
Sure, but yeah,
Yeah, exchange of work. Yes, but we need capital to continue to flow. We need capital to flow, not to accumulate. Accumulate is what prevents people from freeing themselves from that capital because there is this anxiety of the future of insecurity that I need to accumulate financial capital because I don't know next year where I can go. So we are not freedom. We are like in a castle. There are nowhere we're on thousand nowhere on anxiety.
so
And
you think you,
then it's also prevention on other people to gain major wealth.
no, this is okay. So there's a lot of things here. There's a lot of things here. I mean, what is the alternative? We should not fall into the nirvana fallacy. We have to have a currency. Before it was gold. Okay, gold. We could use the same argument. The people that bought gold first got more wealthy than the people that bought gold later. We can use
Correct.
exactly the same argument.
Yes,
But that
and
didn't
it's
that
the same
didn't
argument.
that didn't make gold useless. Gold,
I
in
mean,
fact, is very
if
useful.
I might just say this one thing,
It's useful to enslave people.
yeah, I mean,
No, this
I
is
would
my
say this,
point.
yeah,
No, but how?
I would say this one thing about gold is that if you look back in the medieval era, where there was loads of gold and the early industrial era, wherever one used gold, it wasn't this completely utopian time. There was like all these people literally with no gold at all, just sort of barely scraping by, completely destitute and immiserated. I mean, that's what the industrial revolution looked like for many people.
Exactly. That's what Bitcoin solves because gold is hard to move. It's hard to flow because the problem is like going to the flowing point, liquidity point. I absolutely agree. Capital should flow. Gold is hard to flow. That's the problem with gold. This is why we're heading for a golden age because now we have an absolutely scarce and liquid asset that everybody in the world can have at lightning speed using AI,
Whoa,
using
whoa, whoa,
the
whoa, whoa, whoa,
internet.
whoa. Sorry, the transaction rate of Bitcoin is very, very slow. Like the actual transaction rate of the Bitcoin network is not fast at all. It's way,
No,
way, way slower than stuff like Visa.
okay, but this is Lightning Network is the answer to that point. But look, this is another. This is not the most important thing of my of this vision of free villages. Okay,
No,
really like
okay. Let's go back on free villages, and if that's not related to this, let's move forward. But
yeah, exactly.
if somehow this is a fundamental
We
for
can
the
have
free
another
villages
call
thing,
that
I
would.
would love to discuss this
Let's
further.
talk about this during our next call. I think that's just a good sign that this topic is hot. So let's go on with the free villages and the vision that Pedro holds.
I'm
Yes,
not a
please.
I'm not a maximalist. You know, I'm happy to talk about this with time. You know, like really, like I'm not. But this is not. This is the most irrelevant part of the whole thing. I shouldn't have
Okay,
put
man.
this here. I shouldn't have put this here. It's my fault. I should have not put this here. Anyways, debt per capita. Anyway, Bitcoin is just gold. Okay, philosophy, classic liberalism, freedom of speech, self ownership, and non aggression principle. It's this I think is more it's easier to it's more there's more consensus behind this, I think, right?
Yes, yes, yes.
Individual rights such as life, liberty, and private property, free markets, capitalism, and limited government might be. There's less consensus here. Some people see capitalism as a bad thing. I understand that point. The most important part of my whole thing is, well, voluntarism. I believe that we should not aggress on people. All actions should be voluntary. This is the whole gist of my philosophy, right? This all actions and interactions between people should be voluntary, emphasizing freedom of choice. So we could use Bitcoin, but we could use also Monero, or we could use whatever. There's that before was just a personal opinion of what I think, truly believe, right? It's not what I want for everybody. That's a different thing. What I want for everybody would be ideally that every interaction is voluntary. Like that's the only thing that it truly matters. The rest we can solve it. So yeah, reject coercion, compulsory systems, you know, at any level. So philosophy, liberty minded is exactly that. In my view, liberty minded is classic liberalism. Freedom of expression, the most fundamental thing. Let's let people solve it out. Let people talk with each other. Problems will be solved. Um, Self ownership. Self ownership. Why is this important? Yeah.
I just wanted to give a space for a Bright Gov to speak because they've been raising a hand several times. Just quickly, Bright Gov.
Thank you. I would just like to share. You can see on the chat group. I started a petition. This is more to Pedro because it's Portuguese. It's more to the Portuguese community.
Mm-hmm.
I started a petition to copy the Swiss model to Portugal. The referendum laws specific to local and regional referendums.
Right on. I'm gonna check it out. Oh, this is awesome. That's great. Oh, phenomenal. Let's do it. Let's do it. Yeah, but anyways, classic liberalism philosophy. Libertarianism. I'm into that kind of stuff. I believe it's really important. Um, and yeah, like people's veto power. This I want to share with you. I think I'll share just with this thing, and then we could just talk. And yeah, I brought a lot of information. I'll just share this, and then I'm out. Okay, so uh, mm, because it's the Swiss model. It's the most important part of the Swiss model. Yeah. Okay. So the people's veto power. It's a mechanism present in Switzerland that allows people to reject anything through referendums. Um, this effectively ends the authoritarianism because it allows every decision, law, budget to be vetoed by the people at any level. You know, because the main problem is that the current system doesn't allow for true consensus or unpopular decisions to be decentralized. No current politician will run on true unpopular decisions. For example, politicians will not lower taxes. Will not say, we want schools to be more to be less expensive. No politician runs on these kinds of things, right? The Swiss model bakes decentralizes laws and unpopular decisions because we have to pay somehow. We always have to pay, you know. So they for example, they rejected there was a carbon law tax now in Switzerland, and they rejected this like 3 or 4 years ago. Why? Because it was too expensive. It's as simple as this. Everybody wants to save the world. Everybody wants to have great public schools. Everything, everybody wants the best for everyone, but economy in the real world doesn't let it. And Switzerland is the only country in the world where people can look at the referendums and see, okay, this is too expensive. Like, I want to have, a green world, but it's just too expensive right now. We got to go slowly in that direction. We got to go voluntarily in that direction. So the mechanisms for this are the people's veto power, which they can grab 50,000 signatures on the federal level and reject any federal law, like, for example, the carbon tax. And they can also create initiatives like for example, the burqa. There was a burqa initiative. Like, they banned burqas in Switzerland. Very unpopular decision in Europe. They did it. It's done. Problem solved. Well, no, that specific problem solved, because problems are huge. The problem is, like, for example, why did Hitler come into power? Because there were a bunch of undemocratic, involuntarily decisions taken before that then led to a situation that was so bad that only a guy like Hitler could have happened in that moment. You know, economy was bad, everything was messed up, and then this guy comes with a message, very very focused, ultra focused message. He just eats everything. So the alternative to this is referendums to blow off the steam gradually at all points, municipal, regional, and national level, so that then these things don't happen, and we actually have like the best of the right and the best of the left working together to create an actual normal world that reflects human needs and wills. People initiatives, like, they can just, at any level, they can bring new ideas. Public recalls. The justice should obey the people. Justice should obey the people. When the judges when they say, but the judges should be independent, there is no independence. Independence is a definition by humans. We define what independence is. So you cannot have. So in Switzerland, the judges obey the laws also. And also they have this public recall where they can recall a judge, right? So if imagine a judge has a really unpopular decision, like something really really bad. Should we just let it go through? No, of course not. This is what the public recall does. Everybody should be serving the wills of the people. The will of the people. Every single mechanism, public interaction should have a mechanism that allows it to be rejected, including judges. Judges should not be above the law. And we should define what the law is. That's the whole point of the Swiss system. So this is, people's veto power, incredible tool. Federalism, open lists, like, parties are not led by the party leader. Everywhere in Europe, in Portugal, for example, the party leader is the king. You can never go against the party leader. This is insanity. And in Switzerland, they have the open lists where you choose the person that you want to put on the election. You choose the person.
Gustavo, you wanna say something?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just curious. Pedro, do you live in Switzerland?
No.
No, because I really would like to get to the point of this call, because so far this seems like selling the Switzerland government, which is nice. There are many things that I know already. There are others that I'm like grateful to understand, but why so much focus about Switzerland and its governments here?
Because we have to learn from history to not repeat the mistakes. If something is working, if Switzerland is the freest country in the world, we should understand why.
Right? Yeah, Switzerland is the biggest and safest and most prosperous country in the world because it's surrounded by mountains, which makes it kind of protected against invaders, and everyone has a gun in order to shut invaders. And
Daniel,
rational thinking.
Daniel, say one thing, so is Afghanistan. Afghanistan is surrounded by mountains, and Afghanistan is not such a nice place as Switzerland.
Exactly. Very easy. That's a very easy one.
Because we have rational thinking, Afghanistan doesn't. That's why.
Yeah, but Switzerland also have like a centuries of history.
But I like that discussion.
Controlling people's money and their wealth around Europe. So it's a really privileged position. And I agree, Switzerland is an amazing governance system. I fully agree with this. My question is, what's next? I mean, we are not all moving to Switzerland, right?
No. We should
Daniel,
create
you're on mute.
We should create Switzerlands everywhere. That's the point of free villages. That's the whole thing. The whole goal, okay, going to free villages. Replicate Switzerland on a municipal level everywhere. Okay? So my argument is this: we find low population villages, for example, in Spain. There's a bunch of them. There's thousands of them, and we just implement the Swiss model there, bottom up.
I mean, and then now I go to Daniel's answer. Like, yes, this will be amazing, but we need a bellic defense to protect people placing their own governance systems there. This is my whole argument about nation states. Like, if you just go there and try to build new nations within the nations, traditional nation state will come after us, and they have the guns that we don't have.
No, this is not a nation state. This is just a culture. Okay, this is just culture, and it's not a nation state. It's just referendums at a municipal level in Spain, or in Portugal, or anywhere else, with a culture, with a global culture of people that have a philosophy. You know, that's all it is. This is why bottom up. I'm not into.
I mean, you're talking not only about philosophy here. You're talking about binding governance here. When you establish a governance like this, and you want to base it on a territory, call it free village, call it however you want. This is a direct conflict with traditional governance systems. I mean, I'm with you. I will love placing Switzerland government in every village, in every corner of the world.
But it doesn't have to be the whole point. In my view, it always it's here 7. The project must operate within the laws of the host country. This includes zoning, housing, business laws. We can use AI to make sure it's within the laws. Okay, we can use AI to. This is all possible right now. I parsed all the laws in Spain, and yeah, all the things that are here are fully possible to be implemented. In like the veto power can be implemented legally. The citizens' initiative. Like, think about it. Like, it's actually in the Spanish Constitution and in the Portuguese Constitution also, the referendums at the municipal level. The problem is the culture. People don't know that they can do. People don't know that they can be free. This is why philosophy is so important. So, yeah, like there are things that we cannot pass, right? There are laws that we cannot pass. But the whole gist of free villages is affordability, entrepreneurship, liberty-minded. You know, entrepreneurship. There's nothing revolutionary out of this. But then, of course, people will create new laws. They have new ideas, and they can create initiatives that can go against the host country, right? We should use AI and common sense to actually make a project that can scale globally. My argument is bottom up and not top down. So there are projects that are top down. A lot of them here, I think. Free villages is a bottom up approach. That's the difference.
Pedro, let's give a voice to Bright Gov. He has the raised hand, and also Jose. I saw your raised hand. I'd like to speak. I'd like to hear you speak as well, because you guys are both from Portugal.
Just to add the question, why is Mr. Pedro so focused on Switzerland, is that the Portuguese community in Switzerland, it's big. So when we talk with our fellow men, they always talk good about Switzerland. That's why we are so inspired by them.
Great point. Half of the people in Chaves in the north of Portugal are immigrated in Switzerland. This is at the municipal level, if you go around and you say, hey guys, okay, so we're going to implement the Swiss model, they will be like, what? That's the greatest thing you could do in my village. Because they've been there. They know that Switzerland works amazing.
Jose, do you have something to say about it? I'm really curious to hear your voice.
Wait. Well, I actually have like 100 things to say. I'm just trying to see where to start. Okay, let's start with some concepts. Pedro, thank you so much for your presentation. I think there was something that we forgot to mention in the whole history of Switzerland is the geography. Because geography matters and size matters. I call that like the Rousseau, like dilemma. It's very interesting to have a political system like in Switzerland when you have the cantons and you have the, let's say, the displacement from place A to place B, right? So this is easy to understand why Switzerland evolved the way that you just explained to us. Now try to replicate this wherever, in the centralized state like Portugal, or if you want as a federated state like the US. I think it's a bridge, like let's say it conceptually to jump from one to the next without actually having provided, like the necessary at least steps or tools to understand the leap from one to the next. I don't know if I'm making here my point. So it's easy to understand, like why Switzerland acts the way it is. And I give you the Chaves example that we just placed, right? I mean, the north of Portugal, for instance, if you look at how the geography actually exists and how society is organized as well, you're going to find something called communitarism, right? So this community building, like dimension, which has millennia of existence as well, right? Mm-hmm. And if you are familiar also with the Portuguese history, you'll remember that in the 75, it's actually 50 years from now, we were doing something called the PREC, which is a revolutionary process in the making. This is the moment that Portugal was transitioning towards democracy, or let me rephrase it. Portugal was breaking through with the authoritarian/fascist regime we had until 1974. And then we went to this, let's say, a very intense period that drove us until the approval of the Constitution in 1976, which is the one that we currently have in hold, with all the revisions we have in all the capacities. In 1976, there was this ambition to try to create in Portugal what it's called like a road to socialism, which was actually inscribed in the first article of the Constitution of 76. In this moment, people were going to the north of Portugal, trying to explain people what is this community sharing all about. You probably know more about what happened in the south, where again, geography is different, where land owning, like it's more, like let's say unevenly distributed, meaning you have like these big estates where, like big, like landowners, and you have like this, like let's say natural inequality between people who own the properties and, like the workers or the rural workers in this case. Most of these people actually left Portugal when the revolution came. And then you see a lot of these documentaries, like Vila Bel and whatnot, where people were occupying the lands and distributing the lands about, like with the workers. In the north, this is quite different. In the north, people were going there, try to explain this community, like now everything is shared, and people were laughing at them. Why? Because this, what you're trying to say that we don't have, it's there already. Because if you go to any village in the north, then you easily find a community well, you easily find a community oven, you easily find a community barn, where everybody's sharing. So this communal process that you're trying to implement here, it's already there.
Okay. First of all, I'm not trying to implement any community at all.
Let me just continue.
I'm just talking about political tools.
Yeah. Let me tell you about the political tools. Politically, you were talking about the constitution in Portugal. I don't know now with the newest revision that we have regarding the local, like elections, but we actually had direct democracy in the constitution in Portugal. If you have local municipalities, the freguesias, so the small districts inside the municipalities, that didn't actually have, like representative electeds. If you are under 300 people, it's direct democracy there. So the argument that you need to have, like some sort of, like whatever, like constitution, it's there already.
Sure. More or less, right?
Sorry. Municipal, like municipal referendums are there. A lot of cities are implementing, and some actually quite active, like the participatory budget, for instance, which is another way for communities to get involved. So you do have a lot of these tools.
No, but the details matter. The details matter. What are the signatures needed for the municipal to trigger a referendum at the municipal level? And also, like, because from what I've read about, because I'm not interested in Portugal. Honestly, I'm not. My whole view is I don't want to compete. I want to go into a place where I'm needed.
Yes.
Like if people are already having their great, like, no problem. I'm talking about Spain, where there are municipalities that are dying, that will die. That's where I'm interested. What I'm truly interested in, places that have no, where I don't have to convince anybody. We're just talking to people all over the world. Hey guys, so Swiss democracy, libertarianism, Bitcoin, or whatever, and municipalities in Spain abandoned. Do you want to go there? Do you want to do buy cheap property? Do something interesting? That's what I'm interested in doing. Like for me, I'm not. I don't want to create a political movement anywhere. No, just I want to move to an affordable village, but I want to do it in an innovative way where we could actually create something that could bring some value to humanity as a whole, while just living our lives. Like, I don't want to convince anybody of anything. I don't want to go to Chavez and convince the people in Chavez that this is the best model. No. On the internet, with time, talking to people, that's the place to discuss, in my view. But not like after that, we just get a group and we go to a place and we build it ourselves. I think that's the whole. You know what I mean? Like, your intervention was very good. But
my ultimate point is that you should take into consideration, like the local culture. This is for me what sometimes these sort of projects are lacking. Because one thing is to talk about things from the high level. Another thing is to talk for things behind the screens, as we are doing now. And another thing is actually to understand how the local people, communities, live, not live, like desire, so on and so forth. And there are hundreds of examples like that. That there's just a gap between what is this kind of like intellectual philosophy, whatever Marxism, like discussion, and then what is happening, like in local, if you know what I mean, right?
Sure, there's a group.
We have a lot of these projects coming along in Portugal, I have to say as well, or in other places in the world, I have to say. Both ones that are actually getting ahead, and actually those who are actually doing the opposite. Again, like I give you a concrete example. Like we're talking about, like blockchain and Web3 technology. Somebody was trying to apply that for land registration, let's say it in the African continent or in Ghana, more specifically. And they couldn't understand that there are two reasons for it didn't work. One is corruption, naturally, because like some of the things should not be like registered, but also culturally. Why? Because the definition of property is collective. So how are you registering something which is collectively based? Right? It's the village that owns the properties around. So this whole concept that it's my property and it's defined by my fences and it's registered in a notary just doesn't apply. So you need to take this into considerations wherever you want to apply, whichever like project you want to take into consideration.
Of course, there's a Free Villages Telegram group exactly for that.
Yeah,
and also a Nostra Telegram group for this, because free speech. That's the first thing that I talked about. Let's talk about it, and we can create everything. Okay, so yeah, let's do it.
That on a plate. I'm sorry, man. Free speech is the basic for us to even be speaking here. Come on.
No, exactly, and I don't want to. I know your point, right? Because the only problem is time, right? We have a lot of people, and everybody wants to talk, and so points seem to be like negative, but they are not. They're just an observation with limited time. So I understand your perspective completely. I think it's a great point, and everybody said great points. Every single thing. We just need time. So if you want to talk more about this kind of stuff, if you're interested in any of this, in the Telegram group, I'm always open to talk for hours about this kind of stuff. Like, let's talk. Let's share content. Let's talk. Just talking will solve everything. So yeah, I agree with that.
Gustavo, you have your hand raised.
Yeah, I see an implicit risk in just less talking, Pedro. That talking can be so nice that we may be just stuck in talking and forget about action. So in this sense here, I think like the first thing, I finally understood what is the aim of all this. I understood what are your intentions with this, and I think like it's really admirable, and it's like super amazing that you have done all this research and thought process and so on, right? But if what you really want is to prove the model of free village, it's about going to action. Go, find the resources, find the land, find the community. And then when you have those, you will see how hard for you it will be to bring this governance model to them, because again, what Jose say, raised, you need to adapt the models to local condition, to the local culture. It's a way of, yeah, you are building a new culture, but you will need to adapt and concede in many things, because and I mean, and I'm just going to put the first silly example here. Like, if you invite me to an only Bitcoin community, I will say, hey, fuck off.
No, no.
But like, and it's just an example. I don't want.
Yeah.
So yes, talking is nice, but action, brother, please.
Complete. No, that's exactly. This is the first time I actually present this to Natalia. Told me, hey, come over here, and I didn't know exactly what this was. And I thought it was just me and Natalia, and so I brought a lot of stuff here.
It was a trap.
You know what I mean? Like,
we can do another one of these,
guys,
Pedro.
10 guys talking about, like, I didn't know about this. So I brought this, and it was the wrong place, perhaps, for talking.
No, you did everything well, Pedro. You're it's this group of people specifically that is gathered today, have very strong opinions about everything you get to say, so you have very critical audience gathered, which is maybe a good thing, so that when we have like a one-on-one interview, you can adopt your communications to kind of like include the voices that you have here. Those are the most talented experts in the space. Andrew, you have a voice.
And Pedro, you also need to see, we are thinking like partly about the problem in like 10 years. You know, so we are already on your level and totally understand it. What you were saying, the question is now, how is governance developing? Is it still just territorial, or is it becoming more like, you know, overlaying the physical territory in a digital / spiritual sphere? So this is the thing, the crux we need to crack here. Where is governance going? Empowered by technology, and then fleeing into villages, even if it is Switzerland or Liechtenstein, is not really solving the problem. That's what I think.
Yeah, actually, exactly. We will learn as we go along. Yeah, no, okay. So this was my thing, my presentation, libertarianism, Swiss model at the municipal level. I'm looking into Spain, because there's a lot of depopulating places, but rural places in the world in general will become depopulated. So there's a lot of opportunities. Yeah, I've been working